FICO 8, FICO 10, VantageScore 3.0, VantageScore 4.0. If all of this has the same meaning to you, which is, basically whatever, I get it. In this video, I'm going to talk about credit scores, specifically two major brands of credit scores that a lot of us are familiar with, whether we know it or not, and that is FICO and VantageScore. Now, with the FICO score, you've heard of them before. They've been around for a long time, and they're administered by Fair and Isaac Company. It's a company out of California, and everyone is pretty much aware of FICO. It's synonymous with your credit score. But with the advent of things like Credit Karma, a lot of people don't realize that the Vantage score is also something that is well known, and that's come about since 2006. And we're going to dig into both of these, some of the differences, some of the similarities, and how to spot them in your credit journey. I'm Chad, and welcome back to the home of the Money Minute. And hopefully you'll get some value out of this, and please don't feel shy. Please hit the like button and subscribe and share for the YouTube algorithm. And as always, don't forget my comments, because as always, I love the interaction. Now, for the most part, everyone pretty much understands what their credit score is. And I don't care who you listen to or what money guru you listen to, you can't live life without a credit score unless you are fabulously wealthy and you buy everything with cash, and that's simply not a reality for a lot of people. So you're gonna need credit. And if you have credit, you're gonna be graded on your credit worthiness, hence your credit score. Now, for the first brand of credit score that I'm gonna explain to you, it's gonna be administered by FICO. Now, FICO is short, like I said in the beginning of the video, is short for Fair and Isaac Company. It's a company out of California, founded in 1956 by a mathematician and a statistician, if I recall correctly, named Fair and Isaac. Now, with that, they have become synonymous with a standardized practice of measuring the credit worthiness of people. So when people hear the word credit score, they almost instantaneously think of FICO. Now, in the credit world, understand that there are numerous bureaus, not just the big three that we all know about. And there are actually many different types of credit scores, and all of them are based on most of them are based loosely on a model that FICO innovated. So you'll have different scores based on your FICO score. Like if you apply for a credit card, like let's take Chase. Chase has their own proprietary scoring method that they use in addition to your FICO score, which they will list, and they will tell you, we use the FICO out of this bureau. Whereas you have other places that may use your Vantage score, which is different from FICO, but they actually share a lot of things. So, getting back to specifically FICO. I've already mentioned who the company was founded by, what year it was founded by. It's a publicly traded company. You can buy stock in the company. And the FICO score range is from 300 to 850. 300 being the lowest, 850 being the highest, obviously, and that denotes your credit worthiness. But did you know that your credit score is actually an indicator of your likelihood to go more than 90 days past due on a trade line in 24 months? Meaning that the lower your score, the more likely you are to go more than 90 days past due. And the higher your score, the less likely you are. That's literally what your credit score measures, regardless of who administers it. That is fairly standardized across the industry. Now, in addition to that, your FICO score, as with all credit scores, has to be Equal Opportunity Credit Act compliant. It has to be under the umbrella of law, or else it's an invalid score. And finally, your FICO score has to be empirically derived and demonstratively and statistically sound. Now, what does that mean? When something is empirically derived, it needs to be derived from a set of standard facts. Who are you? What do you do? What are your balances? These are things that can be proven, hence the word empirically. Now, When you get to demonstratively and statistically sound, that means that when you come to the hard and fast numbers, your income as a number, your credit score as a number, the weighted averages that they use to calculate your score as numbers, has to be something that literally the math has to check out. Because while numbers are abstract, the fact of the matter is they're used to measure things, and these measurements have to be provable. And that pretty much encompasses what your FICO score is. Now, as far as the VantageScore, the VantageScore was actually founded jointly by none other than three companies that you're probably very, very, very familiar with: Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Those are the three founders of the VantageScore, and it was founded in 2006 and has become wildly popular. And it too shares the same range as the FICO score, between 300 and 850. And aside from its founding, it literally has to follow all the rules that the FICO score follows. So in that, they're actually fairly similar, and that's what composes these two scores. That's pretty much what they are, per se. Now we're going to start getting into what differentiates the two, because fairly how they're composed keeps them pretty similar. But your eligibility, in order to present or have a credit score calculated for you, under the FICO standard, you need to at least have one trade line that is 6 months old, with activity on that trade line within the past 6 months. So there has to be some sort of activity, and the trade line itself has to be at least 6 months old. And as a trade line, I mean a credit card, a line of credit, an installment loan, anything where someone is entrusting you with money, essentially, can be considered a trade line. So that is the eligibility to show a FICO score. Now, here's the difference with the VantageScore. They need you to have at least a trade line as well, but the age of that trade line is inconsequential. It could be a day, it could be an hour. As long as it reports, you will actually show a VantageScore. Now, if you don't have trade lines, also the fact that this was founded by, the credit bureau companies, they also have convenient programs that people conveniently have to pay for that will actually help show a credit score even if you don't actually have a trade line. Now, I can show you two pictures here. Now, these are the score weights. Now, understand that the weights are different when you go from FICO to Vantage. FICO is very well known, with payment history being the most heavily weighted part of the score. Then there's utilization, credit mix, average age of credit. But Vantage actually does a little different, and they tend to mix it up a little bit, and payment history is still the big kahuna, but then also the amount of your balance and your percentage of utilized credit is actually kind of separated on that, if you see in the picture. And with the VantageScore, they even show your recent credit behavior. It's minuscule, but how you move and how much credit you apply for can actually affect your VantageScore. Here's another important part, and that's score ranges. People sometimes don't know their exact credit, so they will estimate that I have good credit, fair credit, bad credit, excellent credit, very good credit, and you'll actually see these on credit applications as a requirement. Client needs to have at least good credit in order to do that. And these vagaries can actually be very confusing to people. So with the FICO and the Vantage scoring models, they actually have different ranges for classification of credit. For example, good credit on the FICO score would be anywhere between 670 and 739. I don't know where they picked these arbitrary numbers from, but there's a difference with what good credit would be considered on the Vantage scale. And on that scale, good credit is considered 661 to 780. Now, both of those ranges start around the same place, but the Vantage has you at good credit at 780. And remember, the limit is 850. So good credit actually goes into the very good area where FICO is concerned. So this too is a difference that can sometimes be misleading for people who think they have, in some cases, think they have better credit than they actually do, or in other cases, think they have worse credit than they actually do. Now, with all these things considered, you're probably asking, all right, so what's the point? And the point is that you have to understand that there are companies that are administering all of these numbers. They're constantly grading you on everything that you do. And sometimes you got to kind of peer through it. You definitely want to look at all of your credit applications to see A, what bureau did they use to run your credit? And B, which score were they looking at? Now, obviously, FICO being the older and more standardized of the two, you're going to tend to run into that more, where they're using your FICO scores. And also, did you realize that it's not just one FICO score? You have a FICO 8 score, you have a FICO 10 score. There can be, last I counted, around 16, there could actually be more than that many FICO branded scores, because certain scores are run when you apply for mortgages, and other scores are accepted when you need a car loan, which are also different from the scores that are accepted when you need a credit card. In addition to that, Vantage actually has the same model, because there's Vantage 3.0, there's Vantage 4.0. If you don't believe me, pop your phone open, or as a matter of fact, pause this YouTube, pause this video if you're watching, and look at your Credit Karma. Credit Karma clearly states they use the Vantage score. In addition to that, I have American Express cards. When you want to plan, like I did a video with credit planning with the Amex Platinum card as one of the benefits, and they too use the Vantage score. Now, a lot of the times when you want to monitor your FICO scores, companies tend to charge you for that because it's more standard, whereas normally you can get your Vantage scores for free because they know those aren't going to be run as much. But the companies who came up with the Vantage score are actually pretty smart, because what they did, and what Credit Karma does, you actually tend to get cards and installments and personal loans marketed to you based on your Vantage score, only to find out that when you apply for them, guess which score they use to actually decide to give you the loan? Your FICO. So these are the ways that sometimes companies can game you into thinking that this grade is for this and this grade is for that. But those are going to be, you have to learn how to separate your FICO and your Vantage, because your Vantage score also tends to be higher than your FICO. And if any of you want to test that out, by all means, don't let me stop you. It is in my case. And then also with that, a lot of proprietary people will base their scores off of both of their scores, and it all comes down to monitoring, because it's all a money game. So I hope this has helped. I hope this has, lit your path a little bit to understand that when you're looking at some of these things, no score is a true end-all be-all. So by all means, it doesn't mean delete your Credit Karma. That can still give you a picture into your credit journey and the health of your credit. I'm just telling you that with the scores being considered when you transact business, find out which score they're using, find out which bureaus they're tapping, so that way you can be armed with a little bit of knowledge, and that can help you get the approvals that you're looking for. But thank you so much for watching the video. I appreciate you if you stayed until the end. I know it's a little long, so feel free to drop a credit card emoji just to let me know that you're serious about your credit score. And until next time, I'll talk to you later.